Good morning, and it has been a long time since I have done a back to basic video in this group, and I think it's probably well overdue. So if you've not joined us before, my name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, and the aim of the Duckie Stamper Starters group, if you haven't been here before or you've yet to discover it, is to take us back to basics, is to take us back to the paper, the stamps, the ink, and just the general nuts and bolts of card making and where you start from, because obviously I've been card making for a good many years, but some people are just starting out and either need the hints and tips and tricks and know how to get started, or just need to build their confidence. So what I thought we would do this morning is I would just do this little video and we would think about creating our own card bases. So I'm going to give you some 5, or technically it could be 7 little card bases that you can make from your pieces of A4 cardstock that will fit into a standard size here in the UK anyway, a standard size envelope, but I think wherever you are in the world, if you sort of not necessarily take the measurements but take the same sort of theory, like half a piece of cardstock folded this way, and then you will still get a card that will fit in a standard envelope. So obviously we are UK based, so we have A4, or I am UK based, we have A4 cardstock here that measures 21 centimetres wide by, it's just under 30 centimetres, it's about 29.8 I think. So 29.7, 29.8, something like that, centimetres long. So what we will do, so this is thick, extra thick Whisper White cardstock. So it is Stampin' Up's thick Whisper White cardstock, and I tend to use the thick cardstock for my card bases because it is that gives you a bit more substance. So let's start off with a couple of very basic ideas about cards. So the first thing would be to take your cardstock and to cut it in half along the length along here. So for me, I would cut this at about 14.9. It actually works out to something like, I don't know, 14.8 and a half, but if we think in terms of 14.9, you're not going to be far off. So let's cut that at 14.9, and you can see that actually, you know, that's pretty well in half. You're going to have 2 card bases there that are about the same. And what we're going to do with this first one is then we're going to score it in half this way. So we've cut it in half along that long edge there. So if we swing it around so that we've got the longer edge of the 2 at the top again, and if we score that at 10.5 centimetres, we're basically scoring this in half. Fold that, and that gives you a basic card. So it's half a piece of cardstock that's then scored in half again. So basically this is a quarter of a piece of cardstock on the front here, and that will here in the UK fit a standard C6 type envelope because it is an A6 piece of card. So you've got a card that way, but of course you don't only have to use it that way, you could swing it round and use it that way. So you could have it like that, or you could have it like that. So just with that one card you have 2 card options. Okay, we're going to come back to that other half of the cardstock in a minute, because then we're going to think about the other way that you can cut your piece of cardstock in half. So this would be doing the opposite. So with the first one, we cut the piece of cardstock at 14.9 and we scored it at 10.5. With this second style, we're going to cut it at 10.5. like that. So we've cut our A4 card in half again, but we've cut it the other way, and this time we're going to swing it round and we're going to score it at 14.9. And with your cardstock, you've scored it. So the bit that sort of is bumpy and sticking out, I don't know if that will, so this bit is sort of bumpy and sticking out, whereas where we've scored that side is sort of sticking in. You want the sticky out bumpy bit to be in the centre when you fold it. So we're just going to score that. So now we have either a side opening card like this or a tent fold card like that. So both of these, this one and this one, are created by cutting a piece of A4 in half. You can see they're the same basic size, but one is cut in half along the length so that the longest side is at the top and cut in half, and the other one is cut so that the shortest side is at the top and cut in half and then scored. So there you have 4 different cards. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Instantly you've got 4 different card styles. Right, let's get a little bit fancier. So here's the other half of our original A4 cardstock. Let us do exactly what we did with the other one. Let's score it in half at 10.5. And then I'm going to take one of the halves and score it again. So we want this to be, this part is in half again, so almost like a quarter. So now half of 10.5 is going to be 5 1/4. So that's going to be 5, 1, 2, just sort of over a bit, not quite 3. So what we've got now is a card that we can fold in half that way, and then if we put that back up against our ridge just here, and this is where you'd really like a bone folder, we're just going to fold that like that. So now we have a card that does this. So you can put something on the back there and put a panel on the front here. You could perhaps have some topper that was sticking out over the front there. So just exactly the same idea. It's the same sort of bit of card, but this time we've got it opening like this. So there we are. Let's come back to our long strip. So this is the other half of that original card that we cut. There are lots and lots of different variations that we could be going on with here, but we're just going to start with these few just to give you some ideas to get you started. Let's score that in half again at about 14.9, and then let's fold it. So we've got this side opening card just here. Now what I'm going to do is, off one of these edges, I'm going to measure 7 centimeters, and I'm going to chop 7 centimeters off of that edge. And then what I will do with this one is I will turn it round like that, and I will use that as a panel on the front. So again, exactly the same size envelope, but just a little bit different. And you could just use pretty papers. You could use one paper there, one paper there, one paper there. That's a simple little greeting. It doesn't have to be anything very complicated, but you can soon make up a really pretty card. Now here I've got one more piece of card that is again half a piece of A4 cardstock. It's 14.9. We are going to score it again at 10.5. And like we did before, we're going to score this one so that this is 5 1/4-ish. About there. Now what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to fold this one like this. But then rather than fold this one out like we did on that first card, we're going to fold it in. I'm going to burnish those lines, because what we are creating here is an easel card. So all that we need to add to that now is another piece of cardstock. So this piece is measuring 10.5 by 14.9, so exactly the same as that sort of footprint just there. And all we will do is we will stick that to this card just here, and you will have an easel card. It will all fit flat into the same size envelope. You want to make sure that you only stick this bottom half to this piece just here. And when you come to decorate it and make it up, you will need something in here. It could be a greeting that you've just raised up on some dimensionals. It could be a flower. It could be buttons. It could be all sorts of things, but you will just need something that will stand there and that will hold that in place. Let's see if I've got, I don't know whether I've got anything to hand that I can sort of, I can't see anything to hand that I could just sort of demonstrate that, but you get the general idea. So you decorate this panel, you decorate this pit just here, and you would just need something in there. So it could be, as I say, you could stamp a sentiment, cut it out, put it up on some dimensionals, you could have a 3D flower, you could have all sorts of things, but that is your basic easel card. Now that could have been, we could have created an easel card that went this way. But we would have done exactly the same. So this piece here would have folded in half, but we'd have had a piece of card that way that would have made a tall easel that way. But you can make these out of square cards, round cards, whatever it is, the same basic theory. Fold your card in half, fold one of the halves in half again to form your stand, and then obviously you can just leave it like that, or you could have, you know, a panel that stood up just like that in the center or whatever. But that is your basic easel card. One piece of card folded in half again and another panel to stick on the front. So there we are, just some easy card folds that you can make just from a piece of cardstock. So just your standard piece of A4 cut in half down its length, piece of A4 cut in half down its width, this card with a front panel folded back, this card with a 7 centimeter strip chopped off the edge so that you can turn that round and use that, that's been up against something wet, you can use that as a front panel, and a basic easel card. So do have a go at making your very own card bases and working out how you'd like to decorate them.